We're going to look at the data and look at 15 trends at the running back position from week 5 to help you with waivers, help you with pickups, help you with trades, help you with cuts and everything else, because we're going to do a quick deep dive on the numbers as we work through these players throughout the week. But what you really need to do right now is hit that subscribe button. Click it with the finger on your phone. Click it with your mouse. Whatever you need to do. Stop missing out on the deep dives we do every day on these waiver wire players. Stop doing on these rundowns where we cover a bunch of players and advanced metrics. We give you the hard to find stats. We help you set those lineups and everything else. Click that button. Stop missing out. But let's look at some trends here from week 5. And first one is Devon Achane. One thing I want to talk about, though, it looks like he had a hiccup with his ankle, so we need to monitor that throughout the week and see what's going on with that. I saw a blurb on that, so make sure you're monitoring his injury status. That happened late in the game, so you need to pay attention to that. But with Devon Achane, like I've been saying, he's going to be a factor forever in this offense. And this offense can hang points like no other. Anybody who's getting snaps, anybody who's running routes is a threat to score in this offense. You all know that. Devon Achane was one of those players that, hey, he was a stash, like all the other rookie running backs in this class. This was a very good rookie running back class. It was very deep with talent. It was stacked, and we were just chasing all of them. We were trying to get all those running backs, trying to get as many as we can on the back end of a roster, see which ones hit. Devon Achane was one of them. We talked about him a lot over the offseason. A lot of people were wanting to drop him over the first couple weeks, but you had to be patient. You have to be patient with these young players. He's popping off. Probably one of the best bright stories of all football. Went off yesterday. 11 carries, 151 yards, 1 touchdown. Dude's fast. He's electric. He's on a fast team. He's in the perfect spot for his skill set. We should see this consistently throughout his career. Now we're looking at Raheem Mostert. And again, anybody on the Dolphins getting opportunity will get an opportunity to score fantasy points, and that's the bottom line. And some of the ancillary players, they may be more up and down, but their ups are going to be higher than ancillary players on other teams, so their downs will just be downs. But Raheem Mostert, must-start player throughout the year. He's had some downs. He's had a lot of ups. That's just how it is. And he's going to be a factor in this offense still. Even with Devon Achane doing his thing in there, Raheem Mostert might see more touches here in the near future. If there's something going on with Devon Achane, I think he might be okay, but I do not know. Make sure you pay attention to that. But Raheem Mostert is still getting it done from a fantasy football perspective. Now we're going to Emari Demercado from TCU, rookie running back with the Arizona Cardinals. Got some opportunity once James Conner went out with a knee injury. Need to pay attention to his injury status. Might be a thing. It might be. Demercado might be getting some opportunity. Also, I noticed when I looked up waiver wire articles, pay attention to Keontae Ingram. We've been talking about him a little bit in those deep stash videos for people in deeper leagues. He was out in this game due to a neck injury. I don't know the extent of that. And again, if I did, I still wouldn't know because I'm not with the team and I don't know the injury and everything else. Thing about that, pay attention to him as well. He was a prospect that a lot of people were clamoring over. Good size, can catch the ball in the backfield, good wiggle. Could be a committee between the two backs. We have to wait and see. But I look for Demercado to be the next hot waiver wire option this week because he's a running back. The waiver wire has been awful these last couple of weeks. The fact that we're getting a new running back is a blessing because that's something that might not have happened. We might have been stuck with the same running backs on the waiver wire. So at least we got something different to look at here. At least we got a running back who's stepping into opportunity, getting touches, and sometimes you got to throw a guy in just because they're getting touches and just hope for the best. Now we're looking at Najee Harris. Has not been a great year. He's looking like he's dust. You may need to move on from him at some points. Maybe a buy low, but I do not see that. I do not really see that. 5 points, 5 points, 6 points, 11 points, 5 points. We got a trend here. We're 5 games into the season. Maybe it turns around. Maybe it doesn't. Jaylen Warren looks better. He does not even look like the best running back on the team. And this isn't really the greatest team you want to hoard players from. So that's one thing you want to look at. This is a decision you might have to make soon, whether you want to pick up another guy off waivers or not. The thing about waivers right now, though, it's not deep with talent. So really, some of these veterans who aren't hitting, you kind of got to be stuck with them or trade them away or something because you're not getting anything back off the waiver wire stash. Maybe you can get a Kendre Miller. Maybe you can get a Rashawn Johnson. Maybe somebody like that's floating around that you can invest in. Those guys should have been picked up as stashes earlier in the season. However, Najee Harris is a guy, the clock is ticking this year. Now Eric Gray, because we've talked about him earlier this season, pretty much when I did the You Need video for Matt Breida, half that was on Eric Gray because I wanted to highlight him, and I knew like the opportunity wasn't going to be there initially to do a You Need video on him. However, I needed to talk about him, so I did it in that video, and now he's getting some workload, he's getting some touches. Think about this. You don't trust the Giants. Danny Dimes getting checked out with a neck injury right now. There's more issues with this team. Saquon Barkley's eventually going to be back. If he chooses to come back after you're seeing this mess, I'd say, hey, I think I'm a little bit still injured. After seeing this mess, I don't know if I'd want to come back. Maybe I'll just come back for next year. Maybe I'll come back a little bit later when things start to click a little bit more. Eric Gray might be getting some touches for the short term. He might be. That might be something you might be able to capitalize on. That's something you're not going to trust. So you may not want to pick it up due to that. Or you may need to due to your team being in shambles. But he's a player we were looking at. In college, he has good wiggle. Played well for 2 different collegiate programs, Oklahoma and Tennessee. Decent production profile. Drafted in the 5th round. Doesn't say much, but this is a deep running back class. And we were looking at him as a guy on the back end of this roster. Might get some opportunity sometime down the line. We saw that a little bit this week, and it was ho-hum against the Dolphins. But if you need touches, you need something to look forward to, maybe. Zach Moss is still alive. Zach Moss is still here. Even though Jonathan Taylor's back, Zach Moss is here, and he's saying, hey, I'm going to force this into a committee. You signed Jonathan Taylor, but I'm still here. I need a job. My kids need to eat. I'm going to run rampant. That's what he did. 165 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think he's still going to get opportunity. I think he's still going to get a little something. It may not be this much for the rest of the year, but it might be a little something. And now he's going to be in the grasp of fantasy gamers for a little bit longer, if not for the rest of the season. That's a trend you need to pay attention to. I saw some people asking whether or not to drop him. I did not get to those. I didn't really want to answer those because in the back of my stomach, I did not know how this was going to turn out because I know there's usually a ramp-up time for these players, and that's what happened. Fundamentals said to do it, but your gut tells you different. I did not answer any of those. I didn't get to those on Twitter, but Zach Moss really had a performance, did well, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he's earning his spot. Travis Etienne is matchup proof. That's all we can really say. There may be a low game here and there, but he's matchup proof. Does not matter if it's ugly, slow, high scoring, low scoring. Doesn't matter because he can be used in the passing game, used in the run game. He's dependable. That's what this says. We've talked about this all season long. We talked about this in the offseason. He's a matchup proof player. Very steady player to have on your roster. He's untradeable. No one's going to be able to sell him to you unless you're really selling the farm. So really, there's no moves to make here unless you can catch somebody tripping if someone doesn't like the Jaguars or something. But I just don't see that happening. He's a matchup-proof player. If I can get him on the cheap, I can, but I doubt it. Alvin Kamara is getting workload. I hope you drafted him on the cheap. I hope you did. Now you got a running back for the rest of the season who could get workload at a high clip. And that's what we're seeing. If he breaks down due to this, we'll have to see. But still, we're getting a lot of workload. 22 carries. We're also using the passing game with 3 targets, 3 catches, 17 yards. Scored 18.7 fantasy points. Getting volume. That's a good thing to see. And then some of these game scripts are going to blow up where he's really going to get opportunities to really spin and really get yards after contact, yards downfield, and everything else. So there's going to be more in line for Alvin Kamara. Now we're looking at David Montgomery. He's been that dude this year. He's been that dude. 50 points in his last 2 games. 54 points, actually. That's solid production. This offensive line has been pushing dudes back. This is another favorable game script for him. Also, Gibbs was out, so he's able to get more workload. 19 carries, 109 yards. They're going to use him. He's a hot hand, and they're going to use him. He's a guy that was going later in drafts, a good discount, maybe a league winner for some people, but the trends are for him right now is he's going to be getting volume and he's going to be scoring fantasy points. Even when he's splitting more of the load, he's still scoring fantasy points. Bijan Robinson is another running back who's matchup proof. Whether the game script say, hey, this is high scoring, or it's ugly, or it's low scoring, or it's slow, or it's fast. He's going to be used in the passing game at a high clip. He's going to be used in the running game at a high clip. 14 carries, 46 yards, 2 targets, 2 catches, 12 yards. Looked how he was being used in this matchup here. Trying to get him on the outside, trying to get him some opportunity to break one. That's exactly how you kind of want to use him with how dynamic he is, how he can break tackles. One of the lowest scoring fantasy performances of the year with 11 fantasy points. He's still cracking double digits. There has not been a game where he has not cracked double digits. Every single game, it's 10 points or more, which is a good thing to see from a running back who's only played in 5 games in the National Football League. Now it's Jaleel McLaughlin. Had a solid performance, 17 fantasy points, back-to-back big games here, and it was against the Jets. This was the matchup we were scared about. This was a matchup we're scared with all running backs, and he was like, yeah, right, we're going to roll with this. 3 catches, 21 yards, and a touchdown. Looked electric on that play, looked electric on the long run, and this is a guy who could be stealing a role here, who could be getting opportunity. I hope you got him off waivers last week. Now we're looking at Breece Hall. This is his job. This is his job forever. Dalvin Cook is cooked. He is dust. He is done. Breece Hall's the guy. He's back to running at a full clip, running at top end speed. Breece Hall is a top end running back to what we were seeing last year during his rookie season before the knee injury, getting used in the passing game, getting used in the run game. He's really going to help the Jets turn things around a little bit. He's going to get them in games where they can be a little bit more competitive because he's so explosive. He's a home run hitter. He's a guy that can help them move the chains, keep things going, really make things easier for them to open up. Those are the trends from week 5, and those are 12 running backs that we are looking at. Some of them you are picking up off waivers. Some of them you should have picked up off waivers last week. Some of them you need to trade for. Some of them are so valuable you can't even make the trade for. Some of them you need to drop. But those are the trends. Let me know what you saw from week 5 in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. Catch you on the next video.